Hello again, rail fans. You know, just about like every other rail fan, I began this hobby just watching the trains go by. Mostly just the locomotives, paying attention to them, all that big noise and mass going by at speed. But as the years passed, I started wondering what was in all those rail cars that followed. Where did they come from? Where were they going? The sheer coordination and planning that goes into shipping a rail car from a sender and getting it to the exact town, track, and receiving customer, to me is mind-boggling. In this video, we'll start out with a typical bulk customer, a company that receives dozens of loaded cars every week. We'll visit some new rail customers that are just lately coming online. And we'll chase a typical local train, making routine deliveries to multiple customers, but all of them getting completely different types of material. Now first, a couple of thank yous here. To Pinellas County rail fan Mark Zielinski for supplying me with historic pictures taken by the late Fred Clark Jr. Mark was with me on my second video outing, Streak of Orange, way back in 1997. So thank you, Mark, for the pictures. Thanks also to Trevor Reinhardt, who gave me a complete rundown on the Clearwater local, where it goes, what customers it serves, and what time it gets going in the morning. A huge help in getting this video shot. So let's go. Driving into Wildwood these days, things don't look very different, but the south leg of the Wildwood Y is gone. The north leg will be next. A giant Y from long ago, built that way apparently so that trains could traverse the junction at speed coming from or going to Leesburg and Orlando. That line is long gone, along with the Y soon to be gone at Wildwood. Here is where the business gets done these days, out on the high iron of the S-Line, CSX main line into tropical Florida. This morning I've already heard the Wildwood local L753 on the radio, so I know he's in the neighborhood. I swing over the State Road 44 overpass and back underneath, and there he is. This morning it looks like he's got a train full of rock for customers nearby. He's doing a brake test right now, getting ready to pull south the 4.5 miles to Coleman.
Minute with 3 steps. 3 steps, 65.
So I move down the line 4 miles to Coleman as he comes by there. Even though the Wildwood traffic is heavy and getting worse every time I come up here, I managed to get down to Coleman ahead of the train. Setting up right now at the Coleman turnout, where the double track singles up as you go south. L753 is apparently waiting behind a red signal up there. I learn why as the radio crackles.
238 Bridge, Limited, Coleman. Trail main 1 track, northbound.
It's L729, daily rock hoppers between Winston Yard at Lakeland and Brown Sand, Georgia. In a few minutes, he'll call a restricting at Wildwood, indicating he's headed into the yard, probably to pick up empty hoppers and carry them north toward Georgia. Now the southbound L753 gets a signal to move. Looking down into these open-top hoppers, you can see what a heavy load this is. Rock from a Georgia quarry and delivered to this Florida distribution point all in one shipment. There's no better way to transport this kind of commodity over land than rail. For L753, this is a last-mile delivery to the customer and a short run. Junction City Mining Rock Yard is about 1.5 miles south of here. Down at Coleman's new Governor Rick Scott Industrial Park, there are currently two major rail customers, Junction City Mining and C.W. Roberts Paving. In the distance, C.W. Roberts' brand new rail yard. I couldn't tell whether they were yet receiving cars, but Junction City, the yard closest to us, has been receiving cars for years. They have a 5-track yard and get rock deliveries almost every day. Right next door is DZ Concrete. It doesn't look as if they're using rail to get material supplies, yet. About 23 miles south of Coleman on the S-Line is Luchi. Until a couple of years ago, Luchi was a siding on the S-Line. Now even that's changed. From overhead, the side track is still there from the north end. An industrial spur breaks out of the siding to the left, and that's still there. But on the south end, the track has been pulled up and the switch pulled out of the main line. Ironically, the signal is still burning. Back up on the north end, that industry spur was once for the giant Cummer Brothers lumber mill that dominated this land from 1923 to 1959. That rusty water tower is all that's left of the Cummer Company town. The last rail customer here was Cal-Maine Foods. They operated that massive grain bin and stocked it with chicken feed brought in on covered rail hoppers. The feed went out to their egg farms on trucks. But right across the road and next to the rail spur is a brand new customer, Southeast Culvert. They manufacture corrugated metal and plastic pipe. It's my guess those 6 storage tanks will be for plastic pellets. This is good news for Luchi and for CSX.
8 to go, 80.
While Cal-Maine may have abandoned Luchi, they're operating at full speed in Zephyr Hills. When I shot this back in March, they were just starting construction on a new grain bin after the old one took some storm damage. On that same S-Line route as in Wildwood and Luchi, Cal-Maine gets chicken feed loads from CSX a couple of times a week.
There's a little bit of moving around back here. Give me about 10 looking out.
This, I believe, was also L753, the Wildwood local, dropping loaded grain hoppers into Cal-Maine's 2 tracks. I think they had already pulled out the empties before I got here. A couple of moves up and back, and in about 20 minutes, they shoved the train back northward to somewhere they could run the engines around the cars, and then pull it the rest of the way northward instead of a very long shove. Oldsmar, Florida, at the very top of Tampa Bay. The seaboard came through here on its way to Clearwater, Largo, and St. Petersburg. A remnant still here in Oldsmar is this SAL piggyback ramp. Flat cars were backed on a track right down to the ramp. The flat car deck was even with the concrete ramp, and trailers were backed onto the flat cars, unloaded the same way. This ramp also had a loading dock and house track on which boxcars could be spotted alongside and then unloaded with a forklift or even by hand trucks. By the time CSX was formed, this kind of business was run off almost completely. Making our way into Pinellas County and the city of Clearwater, it's the middle of July, and I'm happy to learn that the Clearwater local L791 gets started at sunrise when the temperature is only 80 degrees. It'll be 96 before the sun goes back down today. This is CSX's main line through Clearwater. The little building is CSX's Clearwater Yard office. On the one track running through here, a CSX GP40-2 locomotive is warming up. I'm here less than a minute when the switcher departs, heading north to the Clearwater Freight Yard. 1.75 miles to the north and east is North Clearwater Yard. Actually, there's almost nothing left of the tiny North Clearwater SCL yard. On the timetable, it's called Clearwater Storage. But one extra track is all that's needed to make up this train. In the 1970s, Clearwater Yard was a little bigger, but not much. it had 3 tracks. This picture is from Fred Clark Jr., taken sometime back in the 1970s. This morning, the CSX Clearwater crew will have some shuffling, though. When all you've got is a single-track main with only a few small sidings spaced out along a 25-mile line, you got to make sure your cars are in the right order for delivery. First, they back down onto the cars and the siding and couple up. The conductor walks back and makes a cut, and they haul out 2 cars, the boxcar and the first loaded hopper. They line the switch back to the main and shove the 2 cars out, dropping them there. The conductor walks back and makes another cut, this time cutting off the hopper. They now haul the boxcar up and back it down onto the remaining train. They're only pulling out 6 of those hoppers, but dropping only 1 of them out on the main. The loaded cars were apparently scrambled somewhere upstream, and here on the business end of the trip, they must be put in the right order.
4. 4.
After several more ups and backs, they come out with 2 tanks and more loaded hoppers. One last shove back to couple up those 2 hoppers, and their train is solid. While they did a brake test, I moved around to Clearwater's downtown to get them coming south on the street running part of the Clearwater sub. Not knowing exactly where I was going, I just barely got there in time to see that street running. The next move was to get ahead and catch them at Bel Air Road. Even though Pinellas County is a quagmire of traffic, it's pretty easy to chase a train here. Maximum authorized track speed from Clearwater to St. Pete is 10 miles an hour. I had time to stop for coffee and still got to Bel Air ahead of 791. At Bel Air, there's an 1,800-foot siding that's now designated a storage track. So, in order to make the next 2 customer drops easier, the L791 crew will tuck the bottom 4 cars of the train into that storage track here at Bel Air, then go on south with the balance of the train. After the Staggers Act in the 1980s, railroads started shedding redundant lines. Both ACL and SAL ran into Clearwater and St. Petersburg. But business fell off for ACL north of Clearwater, as it did for SAL south of Clearwater and out to the beaches. Like they did in Zephyr Hills, Sarasota, and Tampa, CSX in Clearwater pulled up part of the SAL and part of the ACL and joined them up as one route, and that's how it is today. I lost L791 for a little while until I caught his headlight at 66th Street in Pinellas Park. We're 10 miles down the track from Clearwater, where 791 has just dropped a loaded boxcar to a customer named A&M Supply and picked up their empty. Notice how that big boxcar in the head end is blue now? And he only has 6 hoppers. He had 7 at the street running shot. Someone got a delivery somewhere when I wasn't looking, or maybe getting coffee. Another 6 miles south and east on the Clearwater sub is Carroll's Building Supply in St. Petersburg. Located at the south end of the 3-track St. Petersburg yard, this busy construction materials distributor is a heavy user of rail and is the southernmost customer on the Clearwater sub. Carroll's supplies ready-mix concrete, several types of gravel, brick pavers, and lots of other building products for the busy St. Petersburg building industry. The employees of this company probably don't know what this concrete monument is. The number plates have been removed, but the paint underneath is still readable. 897. That's how many miles we are from Richmond, Virginia, one-time headquarters of the old Atlantic Coastline Railroad. On the third face of the post are the imprinted characters S150. This told anyone who needed to know that they were 150 miles from Sanford, the railroad's nearest major shops. Carroll's is the last customer because end of track on the Clearwater sub is now about a half-mile down from here at U.S. Alternate 19. By now, the crew of L791 is departing St. Pete Yard. For more than an hour, L791 has been working the St. Pete Yard. Now they were either headed for lunch or back up to Bel Air to grab those tank cars and hoppers and deliver them. With the temperature already at 95 degrees, this is where I head for the hacienda. 2 days earlier on that Wildwood outing, I stopped for lunch at Lake Panasoffkee. Off I-75, you go west on County Road 470, away from the villages. About 3 miles to County Road 439, you go right and ease into the Big Bass Grill Lakefront Restaurant and Marina. With lots of seating outside and the same inside, Big Bass is apparently a biker hangout on weekends. Lots of good stuff on their menu. Burgers and sandwiches are very popular. I ordered the fried shrimp and fries meal, with unsweetened tea to drink. Shrimp were large and delicious. Fries were also large and cut with some kind of spiral slicer. $21.50 for this lunch. Lake Panasoffkee is a real Florida original, a little piece of life like it was for decades in this beautiful state. So if you're in the neighborhood, jump off the interstate and give it a look, because with all the development in the area, Lake Panasoffkee ain't going to be the same for much longer. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you like this video. Write your comments down in the comments section below. I'll read them all and try to reply to as many as I can. And let's make plans to meet up again real soon, somewhere out there on the high iron. And until we do, this is Danny Harmon, out.